No, but for real though, how did I get here? Okay, welcome to the newest fixation in my life. If you have been following this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that this wasn't the original content I started out with. Um, all of the rest of the content is hidden. I used to stream video games and I just didn't have time for that anymore. And keeping an audience when you're trying to play like a variety of things is actually like a lot more difficult than if you like hyperfixate on one specific game, and I could not hyperfixate on one specific game. So I ended up stopping that, and I went through a whole bunch of other hobbies. I can make soap now from scratch. That's fun. I don't make that as often as I should. I kind of just want to make a personal batch for myself later. But now we're reading, and it's a very dangerous, very expensive hobby that I didn't anticipate getting into, but I fell into book talk very, very freaking hard, very fast, and I finally decided, okay, I'm going to read something. And I have no idea how I'm already here, but this is my 2024 like books that I've read. You can see here, I'm right here right now. I'm probably like 20% into Finale by Stephanie Garber, and it's only right now as I'm recording this, it's March 3rd, and I'm right here, which is a lot considering that I didn't start reading until December of 2023. And by December, I have it tracked. Let me pull the data for you. I didn't start reading until December 11th of like 2023. That's it. And then I just like went off the handle. Apparently, according to myself, I started listening to an audiobook version of A Court of Thorns and Roses somewhere in November, but I don't remember that at all. So December 11th is where I'm gonna start my reading, because that's the first time I physically like read a page, and for me this was a pivotal change. Between that moment in December to the end of December, I read 10 books. Let me just back out of the way awkwardly so you can see the 10 books that I read. You can see, to start, I was on kind of like a hockey thing. Um, I know Wildfire isn't necessarily like a hockey thing, but the main character was introduced in Icebreaker, and he is a hockey player, even if it isn't super relevant to most of that story. But yeah, I went on a hockey thing. I finished listening to A Court of Thorns and Roses, finished up my hockey thing. I really can't do hockey right now. I don't know. The legacy, that one made it kind of icky. We could talk about that in another time, but switched over to Twisted because my bestie really likes that series. So I read the first two Twisted books, and then that closed out my 2023. Moving on into 2024, finishing up the Twisted series. I cannot believe I started 2024 with a 5-star read. I ended 2023 with a 5-star read as well. I cannot get over this book. And I really, really want to do a deep dive specifically about this book. Well, I want to do a deep dive on the whole series, but I have so many opinions about this book, and I feel like people generally dislike this book the most, and I disagree with that. And we're allowed to disagree, but I would just like the chance to talk about it very much in depth. Not because I think I am like eloquent enough to change people's minds, but I just want to have a conversation about this because I am genuinely so freaking in love with this specific book, Twisted Hate, within the 4-book series that is like the Twisted series. I am so specifically in love with this book, and people really shit on it. I just want to talk later. I just want to talk about it. But not right now. I finished up the first 4 ACOTAR books, and man, this was just a very good month for me. This book made me cry so many times. I think I cried, I was like 100 pages in and I was like sobbing to my best friend about it. I just text her out of context things when we haven't read the same books. But this one made me so sad in such a good way. And for like an epilogue book, this was just adorable. I realized at some point I had to switch back to YA, or I would end up on a kind of like smut, like a downhill smut spiral that I don't think I could have gotten out of. So I switched over to the Inheritance games, which I loved the first book. I thought it was great. The next two, I thought that they were good. But without giving it away, when they end up going for kind of like a pairing, and I understand YA, they don't have to have like romantic couplings, but it seemed to be on the edge of everything, and I was hoping for a different outcome, and I did not get my way. And so I was a little bit salty about that. The Brothers Hawthorne was also good. I liked that they switched up what they were normally doing with the other ones, and did like a dual POV for two of the characters. I thought it was interesting. And then we move on to Rena Kent. Because what is going on? What even were these books? I read this and this was a fever dream to me. I don't even know if I can talk about this without getting in trouble. But without getting in trouble, this series, all of these books, they can technically be read as standalones, but you get so much more out of them if you read them all together. Well, not all together, but if you read all of them, you start to like get more and more out of the story without giving it away. There are scenes within each of the 5 books that happen in like nearly every single book. So the first time you read it, these are all dual POV books. So the first time you read like God of Malice, you have the interaction and you can kind of see it from the 2 characters' perspectives within that book. But then in the next book, that same scene happens, but now you're seeing it from the perspective of 2 other people like within that universe, and then the same thing, and it like flows and flows. So each book, it kind of seems like it starts at the basic like same point. Let's call it like the beginning of like the school year, because they're in college, which I'm not even sure if it starts exactly then, but if it starts at the beginning of the school year, like each book will kind of reset at the beginning of the school year, and you kind of just get to follow them and see what happens throughout their school year and how it kind of interconnects and like weaves with the rest of them, because everybody's like keeping secrets from each other, or everybody's hiding information, and you get to see like people being like suspicious of people, or people like not even noticing that something suspicious is going on. But then you read another book and you're like, oh, they were like onto you, and your suspicions were confirmed, or like you were being suspicious. It's hard to explain. I very much would love to do a deep dive of these books, because Legacy of Gods, these 5 books, they're actually like reading order wise in the Rena Kent universe. Apparently they're like 27th. I read it on her website, but I like scrolled for a bit and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many books that I need to read to technically be caught up, because these are the kids of a whole bunch of characters. And I was joking with my bestie that I don't read books about like the kids of people. They came out with the Grimm Effect, and I did read like Elle Kennedy's like that series. I read The Deal. I don't want to read the Grimm Effect. I'm not super interested. I think the Legacy, that like short story epilogue book for all the characters, I honestly think the Legacy ruined it for me, but I'm not super invested in reading about the children of a couple where I know details about their bedroom life. Trying to say things without YouTube flagging me, but I'm not interested in knowing about their kids' relationship like after that. I don't know, it feels weird to me, even if like everybody should be like of appropriate age, but I still don't want to know. I don't want to know about your kids' stuff anyway. So then I switched it back over down to YA because I'm like, I need something soft, because again, if I go too hard, I'm worried I won't be able to enjoy YA. And I didn't even rate this. That's funny. So I read Carval, and it was so different. It was so different than the other books that I've read, mostly because it seems like everything that I've read, they exist in a reality where there is like just like normal life. Obviously, some of them are like mafia related, Court of Thorns and Roses, that's completely different too. But like these ones, like set in normal life, like no magic, no paranormal, anything, set in normal life. No magic, like no paranormal. Even the Legacy of the Gods, like no magic, no paranormal stuff. Jumping into this was wild because there's so much magic and everything. Like you literally can't believe anything that you're reading, because when the characters are seeing it with their eyes, like things will warp and change. And I was having a good time. I was very confused, but I was having a good time. I just finished Legendary, and I don't know what it was. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Caraval. It's hard to explain. So I will be talking. I will edit my book list later, but I didn't like it as much as Caraval, but I'm wondering once I finish finale if that will give me a deeper appreciation for Legendary, since these are supposed to be like, this is the trio, like that's it. I think they're coming out with like an epilogue book called Spectacular, which is coming at some point, but I don't know. But yeah, that's where I am. Starting in December of last year, I've read, what's that, 10, 20, 25, 26 books, which is crazy because I was reading almost zero before that. I think it just took a long time for me to realize that reading can be done for enjoyment. I finished up grad school back in May of 2023. So after just like reading constantly, specifically for the purpose of like academic research or, turning in papers, just like reading for schoolwork, it became really hard for me to like read for enjoyment. Like it was hard for me to even process the concept, because the year before that I was reading for enjoyment. I was reading a book series that my husband really, really loved when he was younger. It was the like Tamora Pierce universe, the Tortal like series. So Alana and Dane and Kelladry and Allie. Yes. So I was reading and I was quite entertained by it. And I don't know, at some point just during the next year of grad school, I was just like, dang, like nothing is fun anymore. Like who could even stomach like trying to find free time to enjoy things? But all of a sudden I graduated and I was like, ew, like reading still doesn't sound fun, because I read so much for the sake of getting graded. Like I couldn't even, took me from May to December for me to realize that reading could be enjoyable again. So that's interesting. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening to my incoherent ramble about the books that I've read and how I'm on a weird reading kick. So I don't know when I'm going to post next. I'm just gonna like post this into the ether just to say that I did it. So I'll see you next time, I guess. Bye.